they're coming, calling, we're our temples, pray as one. I believe in the word of wonder and a kingdom.
What's up, everybody? What's up, Larry? How you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
Man, I am exhausted.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I'm exhausted. Give me a little reverb here. Let me see what's going on with the sound.
Me,
Can you hear it?
it might. Now is it? Hang on. Might be the volume.
Oh,
on my
yeah,
phone.
it's on the phone. Okay, there we go. That's two. I'm sorry. All right. I'm exhausted, man. We went to Mexico. We did the stem cell. It was just a rough week. I went there with a horrible sinus infection, like the worst one I've had in years. I've had to have a couple surgeries, and then it just got worse and worse. So I brought some antibiotics there and started taking them. And the day of the procedure, I couldn't even. I mean, I had like a migraine. I couldn't even hardly, think. I was in so much pain, and so went up to the hospital, all that, and then they put me under with propofol for the procedure, the stem cells, and they had to give me like 4 times what they usually give most people just to put me under. I've always been like that, so I've been hard to put under. So I was under about an hour, and I'll put a video separately, but they went in, they did PRP, which that's when they draw your blood out and spin it, and then they did stem cells also. And they took about 18 tubes of the PRP blood, and then I'll have a video of my spine, and it has like about 20 different spots that the syringe needles are down in the spine, and they're shooting PRP, different stem cells down in there. They went in my shoulders, my forearms. I mean, I got marks everywhere. Forearms, triceps, bicep tendons. So pretty much everywhere that's really bothered me. I didn't do my knees. I'll probably do that next time. It was just too much at one time. And so we did some footage down there, and we're really I don't sleep too well out of town. And Dave just left today. His flight got canceled last night, his connecting flight back to Florida. And so we got him off this morning, successfully back home. And yeah, that's it. I got to get some sleep tonight, hopefully. But they tell you not to train for several weeks. I'm going to take about 2 weeks off, and then I should be fine. Just kind of let the stem cells, work in the body. I'm not going to do all this and waste money. But besides that, today, I mean, every time someone passes away in bodybuilding, we all say the same thing. People say the same thing: steroids, steroids, steroids. And sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's genetics mixed with that. And the thing we're going to talk about today is the coaches. Okay, so there's certain coaches out there that's, and this goes back to the Washington Post's when they contacted me to do like an article asking about certain coaches. They were focusing on Shelby Starnes, which he had about 8 women pass away under his coaching from like extreme diuretic use. One of them was my friend, this black lady that used to train at the gym I used to when I was younger, and she passed away the day after her show. So basically, it was his diuretic protocol. He would start giving them diuretics 30 days out, and your potassium. A lot of them would stroke out. Their potassium, sodium levels get all out of balance, and then And then it was focused also on Chad Nichols. And I told them, because I've got a lot of clients from Matt Jensen that, but they didn't do anything in there. I just spoke about Matt. I said, I only can speak about certain people. Yes, I've got clients from Chad Nichols. The few clients I did get from him, his plans weren't crazy. But of course, Chad Nichols is Ronnie Coleman's coach, and Ronnie Coleman used to come up to the gym. I mean, we grew up here together, obviously, and we saw his plans before from Chad Nichols. And Ronnie was like asking another local coach, "Is this okay?" And he's like, "Man, Chad's trying to kill me," and literally said it like that. Showed us the list, and he was like, "Are you taking all this, Ronnie?" Ronnie's like, "No, I'm only taking half of this."
Arms way too much. Like,
so that's where we are. And the two guys that passed away this last week was Chad Nichols' clients. Unfortunately, you have the coaches out there like the Chad Nichols, the Matt Jensens, that are extremely aggressive when it comes to the gear. And at that top level, yes, you're taking chances. Those guys push it, and you get to a certain mentality where that's all you care about. Some of these guys are willing to literally die to get to the top, and they always think more is better, more is better, more is better. And so strain on the kidneys, the heart, and it's sad, but it also comes down to the person too. That's where I've been coaching for 20 years. That's my main job, and I've kind of steered away a lot to just more normal people from a lot of the competitive scene, because you'll be working with clients and you'll tell them what to take, and they'll take double, they'll take triple, they don't listen. And a lot of times the gear goes along with the diet, how you're holding water, how to dial in. So you kind of need to know all that stuff. But it's excessive. And over the past few years, it's been more and more and more. And here we are. And you got people that's going to follow a coach. And yes, those coaches are giving out some really dangerous information. But as a client, I think some mentalities like, okay, I've tried it with all these other coaches and I haven't made it. Let me just push it this one time to the max with this coach, even though he has the record of getting people sick. Even Ronnie Coleman, when he was in the ice bath in 2001, he still praises Chad after that. Even Patrick Bet-David's interview, when they're talking about, he had Chad Nichols on, he had Sean Ray on. They got, did you see that when they got Patrick Bet-David when he interviewed? So, this little war going back and forth, and, Chad, of course, denies it. I don't know what his thinking is, but we all know in the industry. And then Matt Jensen is kind of like the new Chad Nichols. A lot of people just want to be told, hey, yeah, it's okay to take this much. I know I get people, and I say, man, that's too much. I can't coach you because I can't go to sleep at night and feel okay telling you it's okay to take this stuff. I'm not, as a coach, I look after my client's health too. I've never had a client that's gotten sick at all, ever. I make them do blood work and more extensive stuff, even heart exams too. And these guys, it's sad, but it goes both ways. There's coaches giving out harmful information. I've seen some scary protocols, and the most dangerous stuff, I believe, is the diuretics and the insulin once you start pushing that really hard. Of course, gear, large periods over time, people not taking breaks. But you got a lot of bodybuilders who are healthy today. Look at Jay Cutler or Phil Heath. These guys are still okay. They took breaks. They did it the right way. They took care of their body. There's a lot of different variables. So what's your whole thoughts on?
Can you put up those comparison pictures that I sent you?
No, we don't have that. Not yet. Mm-hmm.
No, the two ones I just sent you. You can just show them. You're not sure how to do that.
No, I can't. We don't have that yet on here. I don't know how to do that yet.
Okay. Well, anyways, we have a few different factors going into this. first of all, I want to start off saying, it seems like every week we're seeing a new bodybuilder pass away. However, statistically, it's happening in athletes around the world, not just bodybuilders. So we see it as bodybuilders passing away, but the truth of the matter is athletes all over the world are passing away, and the stats are there to prove that. So there's something going on, not just in bodybuilding, but athletes in general. But focusing on bodybuilding, back in my day, we had some deaths, and but they weren't not. It wasn't like all the time like this. And I hate to say it like gear use, because I think it's not just gear use, but there's definitely a transfer from, it's changed from when I started, the emphasis was on training and the gear was like, to help your training. Now it's like, let's take more gear so we don't have to train as hard. And I actually prepped a guy for Nationals 2021, and I worked him to almost to death. And we did run a gear, but not crazy high dosages. Right after that prep, he stopped training with me because I don't think he wanted to work that hard anymore. I mean, I pushed him for 6 months, like in the gym, just near killed him every single time. Fast forward 3 years later, and he's got a new coach. He doesn't train anywhere nearly like we did before. He's taking way more gear than we did back then, and he doesn't look as good. Not only does he not look as good, but it's 3 years later, but he looks 10 years older. So it's aged him.
Yeah.
And, one thing, a weakness on him was his glutes and hamstrings. So I really focused on training to, a lot of, we had a separate day, just glutes and hamstrings. And during a prep, we actually brought up his glute and hamstrings and brought out detail and definition that he never had there, just by training those body parts specifically every week really hard. Now that's still his weakness, and it's just there's nothing back there. And you can't, no matter how much drugs you take, it's not going to bring up a weak body part. You can only do that through training. And I've been seeing this for literally decades now. I think that, back in the 80s, we trained really hard. In the 90s, they trained really hard. And then something happened along the way where people just don't want to work that hard anymore. And instead, they want to take more drugs. And I think what we're seeing is, I don't know that the bodybuilders are any bigger necessarily. They just look more, they have more sarcoplasm, just blood from all the gear. And I think insulin, GH, along with the gear, just is more blood volume.
Yeah.
But you're not seeing the striations like we had back then. And I can't say they're any bigger because obviously guys today are not bigger than Ronnie Coleman or Dorian Yates. They're not even as big as that. They have a more round look, but again, it's just more sarcoplasm, blood, and synthol and whatever else they're sticking in them.
A lot of it, everybody used to have striated shoulders. Like when I was competing out, I had fibers all throughout my shoulders. I even got accused of using stuff in my shoulders just because my clavicles are wide, and on top of that, my shoulders are my most genetically gifted body part. But the guys today, of course, if you shoot somewhere a lot with gear, it's going to blur it. But they're shooting so much gear today. Also, even if it's not, a synthol product or site enhancement oil, it's going to cause scar tissue and blur it. And you rarely see lines in anybody's shoulders today. It's crazy. Like they'll be big and full, but also, I believe like in the 90s, early 2000s, conditioning was a huge factor. Now the fullness, everybody wants this fullness look. It's two different looks. And right, you look full, and they use a lot of insulin to the carb load and all that, but you lose a lot of the lines and a lot of the pleasing striations and aesthetic look. And that's what causes a lot of distension too, pushing the food and the insulin. And I don't personally like to look better, but it's what they're rewarding. I've got a pro guy, one of my best friends I coach now. He has the physique of a 90s bodybuilder. He's 6'1", black guy, amazing physique. But it doesn't. He stands out from all the other guys because he's not 5 foot, whatever, and has this full, busting out, more drugged out look. And that's the reason kind of I got out of it too. It was just like the judges keep getting bigger. I'm like, I'm big enough. I don't want to get any bigger. And then people run their, they keep putting masks on. People start getting, of course, your waist gets bigger and it ruins your lines. And that's where, classic physique came in. And those guys look great. I like the classic division, but you still want to see the freaks, the bodybuilders. But, you had Roddy Coleman and you had all those freaks now. But then today, there's a new standard for gear, for cycles. I've seen a lot of these programs. I've got people from these coaches, Chad Nichols, Matt Jensen. Actually, one of Matt Jensen's clients, he wasn't even a competitor. He wants to eventually come on and tell his story. He had to get a kidney transplant under his coaching. He hired me, and then within that week, I said, come off everything you're taking. You need to get blood work. He texted me a few days later. He was throwing up. He was sick. I said, go to the ER, and he was in kidney failure. Luckily, he had a family in Iraq, and he flew there and bought a kidney from for $20,000 and had a doctor put it in. But he's still going to have take anti-rejection medicines the rest of his life. And it's, you kind of have to sometimes remove yourself from the industry. When I know when I got injured and I was out 2 years, and I kind of look back and I was like watching everybody do this. I'm like, gosh, like it was pretty crazy what I was doing. Even though I wasn't pushing it as hard as certain people, you're pushing food all day. You're overeating all day. You're just pushing drugs. You're pushing all this stuff. Your life revolves around this thing that's obsessive, and you miss out on a lot of things in life. You can't do certain things because you're too big. You don't fit in certain clothes. I remember I used to love snow skiing. I stopped that eventually because I was afraid I was going to get injured. And when you have all that muscle, it's a lot easier to get injured. And those guys, I had clients bowling, tear biceps, 3 different clients bicep tear just from bowling like that.
Well, let's talk about some of the specific reasons, like, why certain things are happening. First of all, you have genetic mutations. There's more genetic mutations now than ever before. And some people, because of the mutations, they can't handle the gear like maybe people could back a long time ago. But I think that's part of it. However, again, knowing what I know about what people are doing and looking at the physiques, what we're seeing is a lot of blood volume. And I think most of that is caused by insulin and GH. So what happens when you have more insulin and GH, you're increasing the cytoplasm, which is just blood volume. So you're getting that round, full, pumped up look. And you might be carrying 20 pounds of extra weight because it's just pump and blood volume. And if you notice, that blurs all the definition. But besides that, what are the 2 things that we're seeing people dying of? Kidneys and heart failure. It used to be liver, but now it's kidney and heart failure. So, and those are directly affected by your blood pressure. I can tell you, I've never in my life had high blood pressure, no matter how many steroids I ran, but I've never run really high dosages of insulin and GH. There was one time that I did push my body weight up to 250, which for me was a lot of weight. And there's pictures of it on the internet. I'm wearing an ankle bracelet right after I Operation Raw Deal.
I've had a couple of those too.
Yeah, I was big as shit, and I've got veins coming out all over, but I don't have barely any separation anywhere.
Yeah,
I was the biggest one on stage, and I was lean, but there's no separation because I had so much blood volume. It just looks like when you train your legs and they get super pumped. And so you see veins and stuff, but you don't see any detail. There's no striations, there's no separation or anything because they're so pumped, you just can't see anything. There's too much blood in there. So they're creating this situation. And at the same time, having all this blood volume is putting extra strain on your internal organs, especially your heart and your kidneys, because you just have this extra water weight that you're carrying around with you. And do you ever notice, like, so let's say you're at a certain weight for a while and you get used to carrying that weight and whatever it is. And then all of a sudden you like gain a whole bunch of weight because like maybe right after a show, you gain a bunch of water weight and you find it's really hard to breathe. Have you felt that?
Yeah.
You know, you look literally like walking up a flight of stairs, you're like running out of breath because you're carrying like 20 pounds of extra just weight, water weight on you that is causing this to happen. And that's straining your heart and your kidneys. And that's primarily in bodybuilding circles. That's where we're seeing the deaths coming from, you know, heart failure and kidney failure.
I always have people after a show, I tell them, you know, like go have a cheat meal, no alcohol, hydrate yourself. Because especially if you use diuretics, which I use very little diuretics with my clients, but you're still going to get a rebound. I've had rebounds before where you can gain 20 pounds in a day. And that's dangerous. You know, that can lead to high blood pressure shooting through the roof. And that's all it takes. As we get older, you know, in your 20s, you can get away with a lot of that stuff. But, you know, these guys today, you really can't. It's really hard to talk sense into certain people. I do consultation with people all the time and top competitors, and I have them send me what they're already doing. And I'm just like, you don't need this much, and you can't talk them out of it. And then they'll just do it anyways. And so it's just more is better.
There's another factor I want to add into this. So back in my day when we started, we started competing as teenagers. We started training very young. I started at 12 years old. I won my first show when I was 16. I won the USA when I was 18. I would compete against Sean Ray and took second at the Teen America that same year at 18 years old. So we started young. And your body can tolerate more abuse when you're young. And there's this idea now that like, oh, teenagers shouldn't take gear. Teenagers shouldn't do too much. Don't do things until you're like older. Well, guess what? When you're older, your body can't handle it. I know when I was in my 20s, I loved Anadrol. I could train, get strong and train like hell. If I take Anadrol today, feel sick.
Yeah.
I feel sick like right away. And I used to be my favorite thing like 25 years ago, 30 years ago. Yeah. But right now, like my system does not like it. I literally feel like I can't eat. I feel nauseous. I used to be able to take Anadrol and just eat, and I felt great in the gym and everything. So
there's no point. And there's no point. Like if you're taking certain compounds, Anadrol, D-ball, tren, whatever, and you're getting that, you can't eat your meals. It's counterproductive because you're not resting. Maybe it's keeping you up. Your stomach's messed up. Your digestion's messed up. That's hurting you more than helping. But people's mentality is they'll just keep doing it because they think they're not going to be as big if they're not taking a certain compound. And it's really hard to get through. And after all these deaths, people still are doing it and chasing it and chasing it and chasing it. And where do you put? I mean, people are like, who do you put blame on? Do you, the coach or the client or both? And it's like that's where there's no legality stuff in it because you're just telling a person what to do.
Look,
it's that person.
If a person signs up with a coach, and the coach puts them on an extreme protocol, and if they don't have the common sense to realize that, this is probably not a good idea. Maybe they need to get a different coach. So at the end of the day, it's on the athlete. Yeah, the coach, can be held somewhat responsible, maybe for giving bad advice. Maybe you shouldn't use certain coaches, But the athlete at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to suffer from this, not the coach. You're the one that's going to get sick. You're the one that's going to be in the hospital. And to be honest with you, I've heard certain bodybuilders tell me specifically that they dropped their coach and went to another coach because the coach they had wasn't willing to put them on more extreme protocol. And I'm talking about masters bodybuilders, guys over 40. They wanted to be on more gear and they wanted to do more extreme shit. And the coach they had wouldn't do it. So they went to the more extreme coach that was willing to, endorse that and say, yeah, take more gear or more GH, more insulin, whatnot.
I see it all. I have it all the time. I mean, I work with somebody and they're like, well, don't I need more than this? I'm like, well, we've been winning and making gains. And I'll be honest, certain people, they get to a certain age or time period. I'm like, listen, you won this many shows, you did this, your body's maxed out. You're not going to get any better. I had this one guy for a long time, like 8 years, and we looked awesome at one of his last couple shows. And I was honest with him, like, listen, you're getting older, you're black, so you have more of chances of heart issues anyways. I would just kind of be healthy, be in shape and all that. It's not worth pushing it anymore to try to earn your pro card. And I thought we had an agreement, and the next thing I know, I saw him online. He hired another coach, and he looked really bad. And everybody was texting me like, "What happened to so-and-so?" I'm like, "I'm not coaching him." And you're gonna lose if you. Some people they're money hungry. These coaches will take every client in, and they'll tell them yes to everything because they're taking their money, and like I call him out all the time because I've had experience with people getting straight from him, and people will stand up and, no, he doesn't do that. I'm like, I've literally seen the protocols, and I've talked to clients, and he's harmed people. And it sucks because when you hire a coach, you're hiring somebody to take the brain work out of it and to like be that second set of eyes so you don't have to think. But when these days, it's just everybody's telling you, hey, you need this much stuff. Even bikini girls. Like there was one coach locally here. He has all the bikini girls taking Trenbolone. And I'm like, asking these girls, why are you taking this? Well, oh my gosh, I can squat 3 plates. I'm like, okay, you might take it the first time. Second time, you're eventually going to look like a man, probably the third time or fourth time, or eventually. These are really strong hormones. Of course, you're going to be strong. Of course, you're going to get bigger a lot faster. You're a woman. You're not only worried about your health. Like there's so many of these women, bodybuilders, competitors. You see their pictures. You're like, oh my gosh, they've got this muscle and they're so pretty. But you go to kiss them and you feel their scrub. I mean, these girls literally have facial hair and beards, and they cover it up. They use, they shoot fillers everywhere. They use a lot of Photoshop. These girls that you're following are taking grams of testosterone. They're taking Trenbolone. They're taking Anadrol. They're taking the same stuff. I don't know if you saw that picture. I forgot her name already, but it was Larry. I think Larry Wills in a picture of that woman bodybuilder. I forgot her name. She's Russian. I always thought her pictures were Photoshop because she's so massive, but no, she's really that big. And because it was a picture of her standing next to a actual, I forgot who it was, but the guy's a huge guy. And it's not only with men, these women, like when they did the article with Shelby Starnes, his clients, there's no reason you need to start diuretics 30 days out from a show. That's absolutely insane. And so they're starting 30 days out, and they're doing like aldactone, and then they get closer and they'll be doing Diazide and injectable LASIK. I'm like, that's you're literally gonna kill yourself. And a couple of these women have gone on other podcasts too, and kind of they asked them, why were you following this guy? They're like, well, I trusted him. He assured me everything was okay, and he's still coaching people. Shelby Starnes is still coaching people.
I can't verify this, but
Andrew, yes.
From what I've heard, Flex Wheeler used to pop diuretics like candy just to do photo shoots or for whatever, like all the time, all year long. So no surprise he has kidney failure. I mean, and the social media age, everybody thinks they got to look contest ready 24/7.
Yeah.
You know, 365 days a year, which is ridiculous.
And that's a problem because I get it. You want to look at you're a content creator. That's your job. And if someone says, "Oh my gosh, you're not ripped, you're not soft," and they're like, "Oh my gosh," all these guys that looked great back in the day, they had periods of time they would come off. Some of the guys would shrink up big time. You know, Kevin Levrone, a lot of people, and that's okay. They're giving their body a rest.
Look, I have
Now
a friend of mine.
wants to stay ripped
She's an
and hard.
IFBB pro bodybuilder, and she's had supplement company endorsement people cancel her because they want her photo shoot ready whenever they want her, 365 days a year. When they call her, they want her to be ready to shoot. And so she's not supposed to have any off season. She's supposed to just stay in contest shape all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and if you just happen to be genetically like super lean, like I am, you know, you can do it, but she's not like that. So for her, she has to diet and do shit tons of cardio just to get in contest shape. It's just, she's not made to be at, 5% body fat year round.
A lot of people are. And a lot of guys, if you guys notice, a lot of competitors where their eyes start bulging out, that's from the abuse of T3. That causes that. You'll see a lot of competitors with eyes that are like bulging out. And that's the abuse of T3. Are stimulants causing heart problems? Yes.
They can, but that's not the primary thing. The thing is high blood pressure.
Yeah.
Which can come from stimulants, but it's just from holding too much damn freaking water weight.
So at the heart hospital where my wife works, she works with rehabbing heart patients. Okay. So the majority of it is you got genetics, you got people that are, she's lifted them out of bed, 300 plus pounds, nutrition. A lot of them are smokers. A lot of them are, ex-meth addicts. But a lot of these people are slamming like monsters 3-4 times a day. Yeah, that's damaging to your heart. And there's a lot of research out there, a lot of studies. It's stimulating yourself, and people build a tolerance, and they can't go work out. They can't go to work without these crazy stimulants. And you should keep it under a certain dose. Like I always tell people, just a cup of coffee is good enough for a stimulant. These people are taking like literally 5 times the recommended dose of caffeine daily. And these kids are like dry scooping, several things, and they don't understand. Yeah, it's going to make you feel crazy, but it's catabolic too when you're taking all these stimulants. It gets to a point where like even T3 will burn muscle.
Back in the day when I was training with Mike Menser, I took actually amphetamine before training. Today, the only stimulant that I use, it's a nootropic pre-workout. It has 200 milligrams of caffeine. And I only take that pre-workout 4 days a week. I don't take caffeine any other time for any other reason. I only take it pre-workout 4 days a week. It has 200 milligrams of caffeine and some nootropic stuff. It's basically a pump product.
Yeah.
But I don't like the high stim stuff because I lose my focus. I can train harder and I can focus better without it than I can with all those stims. Because when you're all jacked up on stimulants, your heart is racing and you're like, you can't focus on your training. You can't focus on your contractions in your set because you're too jacked up. And you fatigue faster because you're burning out from
3 hours too, and just keep, overtraining. Those kids will be in there for hours and hours. And
I got to show the audience something. I don't know if you guys can see this, but so this is a prep coach. Now, I don't know about you guys, but there's no way in hell would I allow this obese guy to prep me.
The Cash? Who's that?
I would not let this guy prep me. No way. He looks like a sumo wrestler. I guarantee you he's never been in contest shape a day of his life. So you got to be careful, like who you go to. Like if someone hasn't competed and done this stuff for a long time, how are they gonna prep you for a competition, let alone
And
give you a
since
drug cycle?
it's so, bodybuilding used to be a niche thing. And then the past 20 years, it's really gotten widespread, from adding men's physique, bikini. You've got a lot of people that just want to compete now. It's a completely different scene. So when people get into it, they don't know where to go. They look on Instagram. They might see the first person they see. Everybody says coach, coach, coach. They could have done one show. They could have prepped they'll hire a person because they look good. And the person has no clue about anything. And a lot of these times, they might not even, who cares about placing bad at a show or looking bad? Who cares about that? Like when they're giving these protocols out, whether it be diuretic use, which diuretics, a lot of these times when these guys look bad at shows, they look great a week out. They wreck their physiques with diuretics. Diuretics a lot of times will make you look way worse. And people don't understand that.
I have a guy I'm prepping right now.
He was next to Andrew Jack. That was the guy, that woman bodybuilder. She was standing next to Andrew Jack, and she was the same size as him. It was crazy.
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
I have a guy I'm prepping right now. He actually came to me through RX. He was 230 pounds when he came to me beginning of prep. That was we had a 10-week prep. In 6 weeks, he's down to we're around just under 200 pounds. Calories 2,500. Haven't changed anything. His nutrition just a very clean diet. Minimal amount of gear. We're running basically about 700 milligrams of total gear a week, 2 units of GH a night, 4 days a week, and that's it. And he has striated glutes, and we're 4 weeks out. He already has striated glutes. Everything's coming in, and we're 4 weeks out. So you don't need to take a whole ton of stuff to get in contest shape.
Larry, another thing too is a lot of people do is we know a lot of gear is underdosed, right? So a lot of people will just take triple because their idea is like, well, some of the stuff might be real, some of the stuff might be fake. A lot of times people don't know what's working because they're taking so much. You know how it is. Some companies, everything's testosterone, their EQ, their DECA. It's just because testosterone's cheap, or it's just easier that way. Or
that's another problem we have. There's so much fake gear out there, and you know what? People buy whatever's cheap. Whatever's cheap. When you guys were in Mexico, I was kind of laughing because when I had my lab down there, I had my main pharmacy was on Revolution. It's my main distributor. Mm-hmm. And we were selling a lot of gear, and it was all high quality, dosed correctly and everything. And he came to me one day and he says, hey, this other guy came in here and he brought me this gear and he showed me this bottle and it's like half the price of yours. And I said, well, I guarantee you it's fake. There's nothing in it. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll send it to the lab. We'll get it tested and we'll see. Because I had a lab back then in Utah. You used to be able to send your gear right to a real lab and they test it for not only what it was, but potency, right dosage and everything. So anyways, I sent the bottles in and they came back and sure enough, it was just a bottle of oil. There was nothing in it at all. So I went back to him and I said, here's the lab report. Of course it's cheap because there's nothing in it. These are just bottles of oil. And it's just fake gear. And he said to me, well, can't you make some fake gear too? I'm like, no, man, he just didn't get it. I'm like, no, I'm not going to make fake gear because, we built our reputation making good quality products. And that's why people buy. He didn't understand that. All he wanted was he didn't even care about screwing over people.
No, just care about
whatever's going to make him a few extra dollars.
And a lot of people don't care. Like you said, they don't care. They're out to make money. They're dealers. They don't care if it's fake. There's a placebo effect. People take stuff all the time. I remember in high school, a lot of people were taking cooking oil.
There's a guy I know right now who is a real drug addict and a real drug dealer. When I say drug dealer, I mean like meth, cocaine, this kind of shit, right? And he saw money in making anabolics. So this same drug addict is now produced a gear line of anabolics. Do you think that stuff is legit or dosed correctly or anything? I wouldn't touch. First of all, how do you know he's not like making the the anabolics in the same room where he's mixing the meth.
Probably
You might have
is.
some meth in your fucking testosterone too.
The problem is too, this is a common question I get asked all the time. They're like, is this real? Is this brand real? People send me pictures. I'm like, you can make the prettiest, amazing label these days. Anybody can do that. And you can have dog shit in there. I mean, it doesn't matter about the label. There's not these brands that there were back in the day. Or if there's an underground brand, even if it's a good underground brand, people will copy that brand because that name gets a good name. And it's probably happened to a lot of different, companies out there. So you're putting all this stuff in your body, and forget about even the steroids. A lot of these raw materials that come over, they've done tests on them, and there's heavy metals in there. And a lot of people are getting kidney damage from the heavy metals in the powder. I mean, this stuff is being shipped from China. They don't really care too much about us. I mean, that's where all the
I got news for you. Everything, all the pharmaceuticals you're taking from the pharmacy also is coming from China. Yep. All the raw materials in the world for pretty much almost all pharmaceuticals are coming from China right now. So whether you're getting your testosterone out of the pharmacy or you're getting it from Joe Blow on the corner, if the powder, the raw material is coming from China, that's just reality.
And the problem is everybody sells it. I don't know how many messages I get. Hey, on social media, you want to buy raws, and it could be some guy that doesn't even have a connection. He's just literally putting whatever sort of powder in there, and it's nuts. And people are just injecting stuff in their bodies and they have no clue what it is. And you can have people, hey, listen, I know you can get good gear, but you're wanting to pay $20 a bottle for this gear that all your friends are taking and they look horrible on stage. You could pay double the amount and take this gear, and they don't care. It's like, it's become so hard to prep people.
It's just the same like with supplements, regular supplements. You have your whey isolate and your whey concentrate, and you have your whey isolate that's 100% pure whey isolate, and then your whey concentrate that's also full of a bunch of maltodextrin and sugar and weight gainer shit and crap. What do people buy? They buy the cheap shit. Why? Because it's cheaper. They don't even read the freaking label.
The big bag is where you ship most of that. Any experience with DNP? I know a lot of local competitors, great top bodybuilders coach who prescribes DNP. I have experience with that. I'll go first. So DNP, yeah, I mean it's used to ignite TNT, as fertilizer, as a lot of different stuff. It was made years ago, and I believe it was in the 50s, maybe before, and it came out as a fat burner. And people were dying and all that, so they pulled it. It made its way into the bodybuilding world. Okay, so basically, people can burn like a pound of fat every day on DNP. Like it literally just heats your body up where you're just burning and burning. The problem is, if you go to there's been deaths from it, and people just overheat, and they can't really do much for you at the hospital once you go over a certain amount. You just literally cook from the inside out. And I have used it with probably about four of my clients in my entire life. And these were these rare clients that, first of all, I knew them for years. They had to literally do almost 3 hours of cardio a day just to get in shape. Okay. And there's some people like that. And any other way, these certain people, and I opted to use it with them. I told them, like, had a long talk with them, and these people I trusted, and they used it successfully. But I'm not a fan of it. It's dangerous. It's not like Clean. Like, okay, take a little more, get a little more fat. It will literally cook you from the inside out. And I know one person, he can't come back to the States. He sells a lot of research products, and he was involved in the whole Leo thing, and he was selling DNP on his site for a long time, on his website. And so I do have experience with it. It works extremely well, but I've never used that. I never had to, but they wanted to, and did it work? Yeah, it worked, but you don't really know what you're getting. I mean, you couldn't get it this much or this much. It could be the same amount. So you're playing with fire.
So I first heard about DNP, I want to say it was probably the 90s. maybe early 90s. And at the time, what I heard is basically you can cook your organs with it. And that was enough for me to not want to do it. So personally, I would rather just diet harder. And if I had to do cardio, I do more cardio than take something that's going to cook my organs and possibly kill me. I think of DNP on the same level as like heroin. You're playing with something that could kill you like right then and there. So like why not just diet harder? Like why literally your life is at stake. Just eat less food, do more training, and clenbuterol is about as far as I'll go. But DNP, that's like, to me, that's just, you're playing Russian roulette right there.
You got DNP, you got insulin and diuretics. Those all three can kill you on the spot. Steroids are not going to kill you on the spot. I mean, those will kill you on the spot. And that's where a lot of these guys have done this. And a lot of coaches, what they'll do is they'll load people with insulin. Let's say they spill over, because you do spill over. Then they give them diuretic. It's like a game playing back and forth, and they're literally playing Jeopardy with your life. And, we know of the coach that loves insulin. Milos, he's very outspoken with insulin. He loves insulin and loves to talk about it. And insulin used a certain way can make you look fuller on stage or out of the gym. You see a lot of guys. That's why you see a lot of guys in the gym. They're so big and full and huge. Once they get on stage, they look half the size, because that's not true, real quality muscle. That's just fluid retention, pumped up stuff like Larry was talking about earlier, or different things that you inject that inflame the muscle. And I get it. When you're competing at that level, every little thing helps. Okay, I can add an inch to my arms by injecting this thing in my bicep for competition day. Or I can look fuller by taking this insulin, and I'm going to look bigger. I understand. I bodybuild. If there's a certain trick or thing to do it, it's just people don't realize how dangerous this is. And they're putting the trust. Nothing's going to change. I mean, people died back then too. You got to list the names. You got, I was looking at it earlier under a certain coach. I think the cover photo, these people will all be on here, but you got like Nasser Sambati, Don Youngblood, Chad Nichols coached all these people these were like people that have passed away. And then you got other people living, with kidney failure. Tom Prince was coached by Chad Nichols, and the two clients that passed away lately, the past week, was under Chad Nichols too. And not all his protocols are crazy. I've taken clients over from him where they weren't that crazy. And then, another guy, we did a podcast a while back. It is like that one time you didn't record. It was a 3-hour podcast we did. It was really, really good. And the guy forgot to do the audio on it. And so it was like, shit. But Dominic Cardone was on there, which he competed at nationals when I did in 2014, the last time I did it. And he was talking about when Chad coached him. He's like, bro, I was on so many different things and like several different directs at the end. I literally thought I was going to die on stage. Things were blurring. I was seeing stars. My heart was, I was scared for my life. And, Chad got his name out there because his wife was Kim Chavaska, obviously Miss Olympia. And then you have Ronnie Coleman, that the biggest genetic freak ever. Anybody could have made Ronnie a champion that knew somewhat enough stuff. But this guy got his fame from Ronnie Coleman's name and was prepping all the guys in the 90s. And
two things I want to mention. You brought up Nasser. So Nasser actually prepped me for a show back in mid 2000s. Actually, it was 2005. He prepped me for USA. And actually, I was prepping myself, and I ran into him. He burned all the
muscle off you, didn't he?
What's that?
He burned all the muscle off you, didn't he?
Yeah. So I was prepping myself. I was 6 weeks out from the USA's, And I happened to be driving down to Mexico, and I stopped into that World Gym, which it's now the gym. And he was training there, and he saw me, and he said, "Hey, you let me prep you." And I'm like, "Oh, well, yeah, this is Nasser. This is great. Yeah, sure." In 6 weeks, he freaking ruined me.
Yeah.
Like, took me from 230 pounds, almost contest shape, down to like light heavyweight, depleted, dehydrated. So just took all the muscle off of me. Because he had me doing, first of all, pumped up my anabolics even harder, had me doing 2 hours of cardio a day, which for me, I have a fast metabolism. I had hardly any body fat anyways. So what the hell do you think I'm going to burn for energy? And had me on a starvation diet. And I knew while I was doing it, I'm like, this is just all wrong. I see myself like deteriorating before my eyes and getting weaker and weaker in the gym. But this is Nasser, and he's like, you have to suffer and all this crap.
That's a perfect example, Larry, of, one of the best bodybuilders ever. They, just because they did them and they were great, and I see this a lot today. You got these pros, they competed and they had a good career. They weren't coaching people their whole career. Now that they need money, there's no more sponsors. They really don't have anything else to make money from. They're trying to coach now. And there's a lot of them, literally a lot of them. And they don't know what they're doing. But they need money. They don't have money. They're broke. And so you can't go. That's why when I started competing, I coached myself too for a couple of shows too. I started coaching people for fun, like my friends. And then after about 2 or 3 years, my friends were like, you're really good at this. You might want to make a business out of it. And I did. That's my main business. I have my supplement company now, which allows me to take on less clients and focus more on my supplements. But a lot of people is going to look great. Women and men. I see this a lot with women. Women will literally hire other women that look great, and because they want to look like them. I'm like, what makes you think because you hire this girl that you're going to look like them or have that certain look or have those big legs?
With coaching is, a lot of coaches do what worked for them. And what works for me is not necessarily going to work for the next person, because you have different metabolism, different recovery abilities, and all that. So you have to take into account that not everybody's on the same level, and they're just not going to respond the same way as you necessarily did. But a lot of the coaches that I dealt with in the past, it's like whatever they did, that's what they have everybody else doing too. If Nasser wasn't a bodybuilder, he'd probably be a 400-pound fat man.
Yep.
Because he had a metabolism slow as snails. So he could do 2 hours of cardio a day and high volume training and starve because he didn't burn any calories. Me, I just disappeared. Now, I've also had to train people that were slower metabolism, and they need to do a lot of cardio and they need to eat less calories, but you have to adjust for the person. Everybody's different.
And a lot of these top coaches, you get a name. I was like that, where I want to be known as one of the top coaches. Like, it was about like a 10 years ago period. But you can't keep just taking on clients. You can't have a couple hundred clients and do that successfully. You can't pay attention to the people that you need to pay attention to. So like my prep clients now,
I mean, it's a lot of work.
But they'll keep taking money. They won't turn it down. It's a lot of work
training even just a regular person who's not even a contest prep. When you get into contest prep, you're putting so much time and effort into that. If you're doing it right, that almost is like a second job, working with that person, between like checking in and just being on top of their training and their nutrition, and then going to the show and everything that you should be doing. So if you have a ton of clients there, I don't see how anybody could do that properly, really.
Well, they do cookie cutter stuff, and a lot of times they don't even know who they're even talking to. You can't.
Oh, I've seen. There's a thing called Team Edge. This woman, bikini competitor, that was a bikini competitor pro. She was head of Team Edge, and she has all these bikini competitors that like are on Team Edge. Her husband, who's a big fat guy, does the prep, not her. And he has the same diet and training program for everybody. And I literally seen this. There was two girls. One weighed was like 170 pounds and she's like 5'7". The other girl was like 5'2" and 130 pounds. They had the exact same meal plan. Exact same. Like he just like printed it out and here's your diet.
Happens all the time. You know, like nationals one year, 3 of my friends, we were all kind of staying in Airbnb together, and they had the same coach, and they were like started comparing the programs, and it was the same updates with each program with drugs. So a lot of these people, they'll have these cookie cutter programs saved, and they'll have a lot of people have their wife doing it, girlfriends doing it, sending out, because they have so many clients and emails, and they build up their name in a dishonest way. Because, hey, yeah, they might have a few people on the Olympia stage, but what about the other 100 people that can't even win a local show? You don't hear about them. You hear about the people that, oh my gosh, let's go hire this guy because he coaches this person. Everybody runs this coach. Everybody runs this coach. That's why today nobody stays with a coach. They switch every freaking 6 months to a different coach and thinks that there's going to be some formulation that's out there. It's yes, there is a science to it and all that, and someone has to learn your body. They're literally going from coach to coach to coach. This is what a perfect coach is. They know who you are. They're responsive. Like my clients, I text back the same day. I have a good amount of clients. They're going to make changes to your program. They should be changing. Not everybody has to change their diet. I've done a show before literally on kind of the same diet the whole time. Usually compounds change most of the time, especially at the end, water manipulation, when you're dialing in, all that stuff changes. And a lot of people, they just click, copy, paste a cookie cutter plan for everybody. And unfortunately, most coaches do this. And a lot of top name ones do too. And it's just how it is. And there's no way. It's just like anything else in life. There's a lot of dishonest people out there. And it's not like you have to have a degree for this or anything. And that's why there's a lot of like slimy, grimy, people in this business, because you don't have to have credentials. You can build up a good social media, have something catchy, put one of your best clients on there, and people are running to you, literally throwing money at you. And, a coach should just not only prep you for a show, they should know about health too. Tell you what, to do. Make sure you're doing blood work. I won't prep clients for a show if I don't see their blood work. If they can't show me their blood work,
I'm not doing it.
This person could be on the verge of, heart failure, kidney failure, or something, and you're taking them on, and they pass away while they're with you. I would just feel horrible, even if it wasn't even my fault. I'm making sure someone is healthy, and I enjoy prepping a lot more lifestyle people now. I still got my competitors, and I tell them, and it has a little contract written up, like, if you do not follow this, you're going to get dropped. I've been doing it for a long time. I know I'm going to know if you're cheating. I'm going to know this. And listen, if a coach is getting you their gear, that's not a real coach. If I got my clients their gear, I'd be in jail. And a lot of these coaches, especially ones that people don't know who they are, that's how they make their money. They might charge you, it's only $100 for prep or something extremely cheap. They're making all their money from selling you gear. They're not coaches. They're drug dealers just pretending to be coaches, and that's how they're making their money. And a lot of people don't hire me because their question will be, do you have a source for gear? I said, no, that's completely up to you. I recommend stuff to take. It's your job to make sure it's real, which you can test it with a Roy test. Dave sells that on his site. And it's a wild, wild west out there. Like I said, you don't know what you're putting in your body most of the times, and it's scary. Like even if I just did a photo shoot, and like you got all these kids, they're like trend. That's all they say. I'm not taking trend. I'm 40. That makes me feel horrible. Like you said, Anadrol and D-ball does. When you're younger, you feel good. Oh my gosh, I'm bloated up. I'm full. I'm strong. Once you get to a certain age, the body works differently. Your digestive system changes and all that. Okay. Do you guys donate blood? Okay. So I used to have to donate blood. Often I had to get a prescription for it because I had to do it more often than regular Carter Blood Care would take. So about a year ago, and me and Dave were talking about this out of town. For no rhyme or reason, I got my blood work and my iron was low. My iron is never low. So I'm like, okay, I'm bleeding from somewhere, because I've had to donate every 6 to 8 weeks most of my life, whether I'm taking a full cycle or a TRT dose or whatever. And I did all these different tests. I did scopes. I did a coloscopy. I didn't find I was bleeding from anywhere. Eventually, after a year, it started climbing back up again. So when you go there, like to donate blood, they'll take and make sure you're a candidate. They'll do a finger prick test to check your levels. If you're too high or too low, they won't take your blood. If you don't meet the criteria of certain questions, a questionnaire they asked you, they won't take your blood. If they won't do that, you go to your doctor, you get a prescription for phlebotomy, therapeutic phlebotomy is what it's called, and they take your blood and they just dump it. And we'll talk about on this RX Muscle this week. Dave and I had to stay a day longer because he felt something weird in his throat. Okay, so they had to take blood out before his stem cell, because when you get stem cell, it can increase your blood count more, and if your red blood count is high, it can be dangerous. So they had to take a pint out. Mine was fine, so they didn't. But Dave, he had a tight feeling in his throat before he left, and better safe than sorry, especially going on a plane. And Dave was smart to do this, because he was like, no, I feel something weird. So he had a blood clot in his throat. So they did a scan of it and all that. And when you fly, you're going up at pressure and all that. So luckily, it wasn't a serious one. They put him on some, blood pressure medicine. And, he's probably going to have to stay on this medicine. He was like, they wanted me to take it before, but, he's a bleeder like me. Like when I got my stem cell, they said I was bleeding everywhere. Like if I cut myself shaving, I don't clot easy. He's like that way too. So he didn't want to start blood thinners, but he's like, I think this is a blessing in disguise, this little thing, because now I'm gonna start taking blood, because you get a clot that goes to your brain and you're dead instantly. And yeah, that's from getting if you need to donate blood, you need to donate blood. I would say most of my clients donate blood. There's a few that don't have to. Their levels don't get that high, but that's something. Even on a TRT dose, if you're a TRT doctor, he should go over your blood work, and on your blood work, it will tell your red blood count, your iron, and all that. And most people do need to donate blood.
So my hematocrit's about 2 points high, just over the last about 5 years, and I have not donated blood because it hasn't gone too high yet. Yeah. And my understanding is that if you donate too often, it'll actually increase your body's production of more blood. So yeah, I don't want to mess with it. Right now it's 2 points high, but not so high that I have to be like super concerned about it. If it gets higher,
there's studies on both ways.
What's that?
They were talking about there's studies on both ways. Like people that donate often, and it increases it, and then so everybody's really different. You need to work with a good doctor and do all that stuff. Okay, I feel like it's massive dosing stimulants, T3 Clin, which work right through the heart on top of extreme blood pressure, no come and go. I have heart arrhythmias and use gear. Yeah, that's what we've been talking about. Yeah, it is from a lot of stimulants. And you got to understand that's stimulating your heart. It's making your heart beat a lot faster than it's supposed to. Just because something's legal in the store doesn't mean it's okay. Like I always tell people, okay, side effects. Go Google side effects of vitamin C. Most people should be taking vitamin C, okay? Everybody knows what vitamin C is. If you read the side effects, you'd be like, oh my gosh, this is some crazy drug I'm taking. No, they have to put that on there, because even if 1 out of millions of people experience it, there's certain protocols that you have to do. So there's side effects for everything. Just because you're taking it something that's natural doesn't mean it's not going to have side effects. Natural things like let's say if you're taking potassium because you don't want to cramp, potassium will kill you. Your heart will stop from taking too much potassium. A lot of people will take potassium when they're getting ready for shows because they're like, okay, I'm taking diuretic and I'm going to piss out my potassium. But the diuretics they're taking are potassium sparing, and then they're adding potassium on top of that. And there's been some bodybuilders that has died from that.
You know also how they put down a dog? They inject
What's
them with
that?
potassium and it immediately shuts down the heart.
Yeah.
It's one injection of potassium and that causes the heart to immediately seize up and have a heart attack. That's how they kill dogs.
Yeah, and that's what it is. Appreciate that. Yeah, my interview came out on it's called Locked In. I did it in New York or Connecticut area, so appreciate that. My urologist had me on 200 tests for TRT. The last he lowered it to 150 and 10 mg's of Anavar. Okay.
So what's the
Yeah,
question?
I mean, I guess there's not a question, but yeah, statement. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, your doctor, 200 is like a normal dose. Some people need more, some people need less to stay within that range. It's just everybody asks, what's the dose? What's the dose? And it's just you just have to get blood work to see where you're at. There's a semi-popular lab selling bottles of tests for $25. Well, Larry should know. I mean, it's not expensive to make testosterone, but you got to make a profit.
Well, that's not even that. Some people just don't have access to the raw ingredients, or they're just stupid greedy. So they just underdose shit. That's what you're dealing with.
Heavy metals and cheap spirulina powder. That's why I stopped taking it. Yeah, there's, a lot of these vapes out there, guys. Like people vape a lot. There's harmful stuff in these vapes too that will ruin your lungs. Some people like, oh, I vape because it's safer than smoking. And their lungs are shot within a year. So a lot of stuff out there can have, spirulina powder, heavy metals in it. The supplement industry is unregulated. That's the problem. It is what it is. I guess that's some brand. Like I said, there's thousands of brands out there. Someone could be making that's good. You don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. Same person. How much did a bottle of test cost you? What, a few bucks to make?
To make?
Yeah.
Well, you figure a kilo of testosterone is about $3,000 to $4,000 for a kilo. So that's 2,000. Was it 1,000 grams? So you figure if there's a gram of testosterone in a bottle, you're if you're dosing it, like say, whatever you're dosing it, figure it 1,000 grams in a bottle. So in a kilo, you can make 1,000 bottles of testosterone for $4,000. So do the math on that. What is that, like $4 a bottle?
Yeah, it's cheap.
Plus whatever the bottle costs.
Yes, that's what DNP does. That's exactly what it does. It's like you're doing cardio all day when you're not. A lot of people will put plastic down because when you wake up, your whole bed will be soaked. I remember my friends, they would have fans blowing on them. They would put the air I'd stay the night at their house. I'm like, dude, it's like Antarctica in here. They're hot all the time. It's a scary compound, guys. I'm not sure. I mean, he's probably been in the hospital for a lot of things. I don't know. Quality Vet. Yeah, I used to take Quality Vet back in the day too.
Actually, before I started my lab, I got Quality Vet, Danco, and Animal Power. Those were Dr. Cohen's 3 products. He made it like it was 3 different gear labs, but it was really just all him. So it looked like there was competition, but
who was Brovel made by? You took Brovel was kind of
Brovel was actually a real vet company.
Yeah,
that was a real veterinary company. But Dr. Cohen, he made Quality Vet, Animal Power, and Danco, and for like 10 years they supplied, I believe it was 75% or more of the U.S. market for anabolics until they took him down in Operation Gear Grinder in 2005.
Yeah, Quality Vet days. That stuff was good. It had a little schnauzer on the thing, and there's the pre-workouts. Like I said before, I make our company, we have 2 pump products out now. They're both for pure pump. There's 0 stimulants. And then we're coming out with another pump product, which is a glycerol pump. And then we're actually coming out with pump candy too. Is it going to be the same strength as a powder? No. Is it going to give you a little pump? Yes. It's just, I love pump products. We are coming out, our old stimulant we pulled because it had some ingredients in there we had to take, we couldn't sell anymore. We are coming out with a new stimulant. That's the only product I won't take that I make. And I tell other people, like stim junkies, I would only take this twice a week. You know, on those really tough days, don't take it every day. And we've went all this before. Like, I love pump. I still need to send it to you, Larry. I'm waiting to get my line done, and then I'm going to start shipping out to a couple of my buddies, like the whole thing, to try it all. But I just make stuff how exactly I want to take it, and you know, like how Larry was with his stuff. Just knowing you have the best product just makes you feel good. Arbonne, Mexico stories. I literally lived. You had me in. Yeah, we have. Well, Larry's Mexico story is the craziest. I don't know. I've had a few, but nothing close to Larry. Yeah, cool. Yeah. We had after hours. It was funny because when we did after hours this week, I was like, I got sick over there. My stomach was just destroyed. And I remember we had to both fit in Dave's computer, and the light was shining in my eyes. And I was dizzy, and that was a rough one to shoot. Yeah, Leo did a lot of crazy stuff. Yeah, Larry knew him.
Yeah, a little bit nutty. Okay, let me tell you this story. So Larry. I meet Nasser, and he tells me, and in the evening, he says the synthol has caused the scar tissue to spread through his body like a cancer, and he was having deep tissue massage therapy every day, trying to break up the scar tissue all throughout his shoulders and his upper body and his back and everywhere. From all the synthol. The next morning, we meet at the gym to train, and he flexes his bicep, and he's like, I did it here, here, and here. And he shows me the 3 places he injected synthol. The night before, he was telling me how it's killing him. And then the next morning, he's showing me where he put it. And keep in mind, he's retired already. He's not competing anymore. So yeah, he's a little out there.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, people don't care. People's out to make a buck. They're not, there's some really charming people out there that can sell anything to you. And, you got to be, when you take gear, you're putting yourself at risk. What you're putting in your body, you're literally injecting something in your body.
Think about it like this, okay? If somebody's willing to sell heroin or cocaine or what is that, fentanyl, these people know full well what they're selling is going to kill people. They know it's going to kill people. And they don't have any moral quandaries about putting that out there. So what do you think a person thinks about when they're selling gear? I'm not everybody, but some people, if they're willing to sell fentanyl or heroin or cocaine, knowing that it's going to kill people, do you think they give a shit about your steroids and the quality of them? Those same people that are selling this.
Yeah. We appreciate it. Yeah, both of us stay in good shape still. Larry's older than me, and he's in crazy shape. I hope I can be in that shape when I get to that age too. I mean, or close to it. And the thing is, you're gonna have aches, you're gonna have pains. Everybody has that. You do what you can, take care of your body. Your body, is your temple. You got to, you can't just go to the gym. There's massage therapy. There's a lot of other things to take care of your body. We've known so many people. They look amazing. Women and men in their 20s. You see them at age 40. You're like, who is that? That's the same person.
all the
Like,
time.
oh shit. I remember her in high school when I had a huge crush on her. Now she looks like, or whatever. It's,
Yep.
Some
All the
people
time.
don't age good either. Some people age well, some people don't. You got to understand if you're,
You know what?
alcohol,
Honestly, I honestly believe if you're eating a clean diet and you keep training in the gym, you're just going to look better as you get older. If you let, you're drinking alcohol and eating shitty food and, not training, you're going to look like shit. That's just how it goes.
cigarettes, alcohol, that's going to age you
All that
fast, junk
stuff.
food, processed food, Awesome. Glad you like it. Appreciate it. How do you feel on off Oxycontin? I don't know. Oxycontin. I don't know. If you're talking about Oxycontin, that might be simple. I've done numerous full videos about the subject. C-Bum doing garage training. He seems to be training. So he has a personal gym. He has everything he needs there. What about it? He can't go to a normal gym and not get bothered. So that's what I would probably be doing that too.
If you have a fully equipped gym, whether it's in your garage or anywhere, if you have the equipment you need, you can train. Hunter Labrada has a private gym for himself.
Yeah, it's not like he has a few dumbbells. He has everything he needs.
So. Yeah, he has everything he needs in there. So
I think you're working on your book right now, right?
Yeah, they're working on the book right now.
So things to come in the future. What do you guys think of 3 days on, 1 off, or training split for? I like both. Hey, switch it up. Do whatever you want. I like. I go by how I feel. Like I'm not working out these next couple of weeks because I did stem cell. Some weeks I work out 2 days. Some days I do 3. I mean, I usually won't ever go more than 4 days a week in training.
I train 4 days a week, and I train. Usually it's like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And I spread it out like Monday's chest and usually chest and triceps Monday. Then Wednesday is calves and back. Then Friday's shoulders and biceps, and Saturday's legs. And I spread it out like that so I get enough rest in between my training sessions. So every time I go to train, I feel pretty good. Because if you train like too many days in a row, you just burn yourself out.
I tell a lot of people that, and they don't care. They're like, man, the gym's my therapy and I have to go. I'm like, well, you're hindering your muscle gains, but you're growing out of the gym, guys. When you're in the gym, you're breaking down the muscle. When you're resting and eating and you're building it back up. Like me, I don't recover easily. I have insomnia. My sleep sucks. So I don't, I'm surprised I can look the way I look now with the minimal sleep I get. What I usually do, I'll crash. And then like, let's say I sleep because my body just shuts down. I'll sleep 8 hours. That next day I look really good. So you got to get your rest.
Also, like not everybody cannot work. Besides like working out, I have to work a lot. Yeah. I have businesses to run. So I can't just be like in the gym training 6 days a week. But every time I do go in the gym, I kill it. I really kill it like every single time. So 4 days is plenty and enough to me to train my body as hard as it can be and not overtrain. And I do that even in contest prep. I don't up the training. It's the same.
I know you ask this question a lot. Like I'll be on a episode. I know it's kind of a running joke too. Like Armand looks like he's high or he's on something. No, bro, I'm tired. Like I work my ass off. I work all day. I have kids. My son's 5. I'm busy. Larry's busy. He runs a gym. When you're working your butt off, life's tough. Some people just sit around all day, collect money from the government, and really don't do shit. A lot of people do that. It blows my mind the amount of people that do not work. It's weird. And I feel like a bum even if I didn't work. Even when I was bodybuilding for a while, I had a couple contracts. I was able to not like work for a period of time, and I didn't like how I felt. I'm like, this, I don't feel good. I don't feel productive.
This Leo bullshit, you know, when he said that to me, I literally thought he was out of his mind.
You just have to laugh at something like that.
Yeah.
You're like,
I just
okay.
I was like, what? Yeah.
People that talk like that are usually just talkers. But, you know, people that are serious, they're not going to talk. They just do something, you know. It's like, yeah, I've had a lot of Mexico experiences, but Larry tops everybody, of course. Hydration's important, and then all your numbers, I'm not going to get into it, but all your numbers, when you get your blood work, it literally tells you the range.
Yeah,
So
if it's too far out of range, that's dangerous.
Been off TRT for 3 months trying to get my wife pregnant, took 18 out there. When I had my kids, I was on HCG both times. I didn't have to take HMG or anything else. I did have to come off the testosterone, my replacement too. So everybody's different. Some people can have kids on cycles. Some people, they have to come off. Most people, like, because I have a lot of my clients, they're scared. Am I going to have kids? I'm like, yes, you should be okay. Some people just don't produce sperm. So most of my clients, when they come off, they do have to come off even a replacement dose. They usually take a high dose of HCG, and most of them don't have a problem getting pregnant. It's unless something's wrong with them or their wife. Gear, you can have kids. Look at all the bodybuilders that had kids. I had my children with no problem at all. So, all right, guys, we're at hour and 20. But I mean, yeah, I guess the lesson is, you know, what we're talking about is you can't go put your trust in all these people. You know, like I said, I'm seeing more and more bodybuilders on Instagram. They're trying to do what we've been doing for years, and they don't know. They were good bodybuilders, but they're trying to get people in shape and train people and coach people, and they don't know what they're doing. They can't make up that time or experience, but they can sell, you know, make some money for a little bit. But once their clients don't do well and they figure out this person might have been a good bodybuilder, look at the basketball player, look like Michael Jordan. He best player ever, right? Is he going to be the best coach? No, there's basketball players. They have shooting coaches. They have different types of coaches. There's different. Just because you're a good athlete or football player does not. It helps. I believe you should look the part. You shouldn't be like Larry was saying earlier, showing some fat guy coaching people. And there's all those people out there that are like, I'm a coach, and you're like, you can't even take care of yourself. I understand if you have health problems or something like that. I've been out of shape before. I've had to have surgeries, and I didn't like the way I look. But you gotta walk the part.
And it's experience. You know, you can't discount experience.
No,
it just takes years and years to learn this stuff.
I talk about trend. Does it make you act out and act out from being grumpy? No, trend definitely messes with your mind.
Yeah, there's something to trend that's unlike any other compound that will make you more aggressive and have a fast temper.
When I was competing and I had to take it, I would lie to myself and tell myself, you know, it's not affecting my mind, because you don't want to feel like it is, because you can do some crazy shit. I mean, like, I acted significantly different. I was very short-tempered. I was on the edge. You know that feeling when you get mad, you're like kind of burning up. I felt that all day. I do not like that compound. It messes with your sleep. It disrupts so many things. Yeah, it works great. But all the other stuff just, I mean, I think at a top pro level today, you're going to be at a disadvantage not taking it. But, you know, to win local shows and all that, you don't need that. That's not a compound you need. But it definitely, there's studies that it affects your mentality a lot. It 100% does. Toughest bodybuilders in the 80s and 90s and the fakes, Larry.
Toughest? Like, Hmm. There's a lot of ways to measure toughness. So I would say
I think like hardcore, most just like brutal in the gym, like just animals.
Bertil Fox was a fucking monster. That guy trained like a beast, like someone I've never seen. Dorian Yates, he was a beast in the gym. Tom Platz, he was a beast in the gym. Mike Menser, he was a beast in the gym. I want to say the most impressive bodybuilder that I saw training in person was Bertil Fox.
Yeah,
That guy was massive and he could move some weight. I mean, we're talking incline dumbbell curls with 120-pound dumbbells, shoulder dumbbell presses with like 180-pound dumbbells. It was crazy. The guy was a freaking monster. And this was in the 80s. This was before GH and insulin. He was just freaking something else.
That's where it comes to genetics, people. I mean, you can't. Some people are just freakishly strong.
Not just strong, but he trained like crazy hard. And Tom Platz, same, crazy hard.
Hey, if you whatever you want to live your lifestyle, whatever, as long as you're not hurting other people. I mean, he's a pretty weird person, but hey, if you want to live that lifestyle, I have certain morals I live by, and I
will just say this about that. Anybody's free to do whatever they want to do, but living in a certain crazy way is going to eventually get you into some shit, as you saw. I mean, if you're taking drugs and messing with trannies and doing all this wild shit all the time, sooner or later you're going to get in a train wreck. That's just how it is.
Guys, you're not living right. Prostitutes, drugs, that all leads to trouble. But he's a nice guy. Like Tony is super nice to people. Like the only problem I had is the stuff he sells and the information he gives out is really dangerous. And he's got a lot of people giving it out and using coupon codes and selling all the stuff. And a lot of stuff is not what it says it is on there. It's scary, man. But besides that, he's very nice and he's very charming and all that. And but people's going to live their life however they want to live it. You get caught up in stuff. I'm sure when you're little, everybody says, your friends matter. It matters who you hang out with. It matters who you surround yourself with, your circle. You're driving in the car, you get pulled over, there's some dope in there. The guy says it's yours. You're going to prison for 5 years. They're getting off scot-free. You got to be careful who you're around and, everything. So, all right. So we have my first brand I've had for 8 years. It's called the DB Army Supplements. It's hard to pick a name, guys. So we just came out with that. And that's for sale on my website, armandadb.com. You can get it in the link. Our new line we came out with is called AMG Labs. We have 2 products out of 6 that are out. This is a pump product. This is awesome. This is a pump product too. Once my full line comes in, I'm going to send Larry and some other my good friends the full line. So AMG Labs will have its own website eventually. Now we're selling it on my website till that website's done. And then if you guys want to know what the product does, it has everything it does and all the ingredients and all that kind of stuff. You guys need to learn how to read ingredients. People just buy products, and there's a lot of products out there that are expensive. Like let's talk about a glycerol, syrup. Like I'm coming out with one of those. There's one out there, a top company sells for $50. It's just low dose glycerol. Mine's coming out and now it has glycerol. It has 4 other strong pump products in there. So learn how to read labels. The labels are not always true, but still, it's just how it is. To get in touch with me, you can message me on my website or Instagram and ArmandDB83. I answer all my messages. I try to answer them. Sometimes my wife answers some. And for Larry,
you can reach me through the gym website, undergroundperformancegym.com. It has an email on there, and that's the best way to get a hold of me, or Instagram.
So I was going to talk about this earlier because Sean Ray is really vocal about Chad Nichols and how he hurt a lot of people. A lot of people aren't, because a lot of people, they want to be liked by everybody. And if you start speaking the truth, you're going to make enemies. That's just how it is. Sean Ray is, I don't agree with a lot of stuff he says. I think some of the stuff can be insensitive, but he's pretty much shoots it straight a lot, whether he's full of himself or whatever may think of him personally. He's calling Chad Nichols out, and the stuff he was saying about Chad Nichols was true.
I've known Sean since we were 8. I was 18. He was 19, competed at the Teen America. So I've known him for a long time. And all I can say is, Sean speaks his mind and he says what he believes. And he has no reason to make it up. Why would you make it up? He has no reason to make it up. I mean, people think, he's upset that he got beat by Ronnie Coleman or Dorian Yates. No, he's not. He has no reason to make this stuff up.
You got people in this world that they want to be liked by everybody, and they're people pleasers. And so their answers are always just here. They like Jay Cutler was always like that. He never had much of opinion on anything. He was just kind of like this, and it worked. He was well liked by everybody. When you have opinions, like I'm pretty vocal about my opinions, what I believe in, and I'm pretty conservative values. And yeah, some people might not hire you because they don't agree with it, a lot of things. And when you look back at your life, I'd rather look back and like, okay, these certain people liked me because I was my real me, not because I acted like some phony or fake or pretended like a person I wasn't. I'm not going to go up to someone that I generally don't like and play like I'm friends with them. If I don't like that person, I'm not going to go be buddy with them and smile in their face, go behind their back and talk shit about them. That's the most annoying thing ever. People do it to me constantly. They'll be like, yeah, oh, I'm so good to meet you. I'm on, yeah, this, and this. And then people will show me text messages like, yeah, this is what this person's saying about you. I'm like, I could care less. If they can't say it to your face, which people never do, who cares about that person? Just don't associate with them.
So for me, my morals and values come before everything. And if I say something because I believe in it, I'm going to say it. And sometimes I know full well that it's going to piss some people off, but I don't care because it's the truth, and I'm going to say what the truth is. And a lot of people don't want to hear the truth. They want to hear what they want to hear. But whatever I believe is true, I'm going to say it.
All the people in Hollywood, they all literally are sheep. They all say the same things. They're like robots. And if you don't, just like when I did certain photo shoots and stuff like that, I couldn't get ahead in certain ways because people solicited me sexual ways, homosexual guys and all that. And I wouldn't feel good by myself. Oh, I got this commercial because I slept with this guy. That's not going to make me feel good. And, people sleep their way to the top. It's just how the world works, What's up, John? Yeah, that's what we do, brother. Just like you. Dave showed me that video you freaking out at your office when we were out of town. I just saw that. Did you see that, Larry?
No,
it was funny. But Larry, yeah, Dave just showed me that, John. Good to see you on here, brother. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. We're at an hour and a half. We went a little later today. We both had a really busy day, but we wanted to get it in still to keep on top. I got in yesterday from Mexico. I lost 15 pounds from being out of town, just not eating much, not sleeping, and I'm worn out. So me and Larry have really similar metabolisms. Like if we don't eat, we drop weight quick, and
like
we can
right
eat a lot
away.
more junk food. Yeah, right away. But any last words, Larry?
No, I just want to say, this bodybuilding thing that we do, I've been doing it all my life since I was 12 years old, and I'm as deep in it as ever, and I always have been. But, at the end of the day, you got to use your judgment and be like, is it really worth dying about? And I'm not saying bodybuilding can be done safely, but if you're going to get reckless with it and just go off the edge, taking shitloads of drugs and not monitoring your health, getting your blood work done and getting your scans done, you're probably going to end up having a problem. You know, Boston, if he had gotten checked, they would have saw the aorta problem, and he might be alive today. But he didn't want to go to the doctor. So I mean, use some common sense. You know, if you're gonna play with fire, you better take some precautions. And you're playing with fire. You know, whether you're using a little bit or a lot, you're still playing with fire. So you got to get your blood work done, get your calcium TC scores done, your heart checked out. You know, I've had everything checked last year, like everything, top to bottom.
Blood work doesn't tell it all. You have to go beyond that.
I had to get calcium CT score. Yeah. Then they did ultrasound on my heart, the echocardiogram, the whole 9 yards, everything checked.
You got to check those markers, guys. And you know, I was in it when I was competing. I got so wrapped up in it, I would lie to myself sometimes, saying, "Hey, this isn't bad for me," or you know, this certain stuff. I look back on life. I had a lot of awesome times bodybuilding, but I'm a much happier person now. I mean, you got to remove yourself from bodybuilding sometimes, and sometimes it's a blessing in disguise. And I think that's why I had double shoulder surgery and that year, and you know, I didn't get my pro card at that show because the judges found out I got my house rated. And I look back and I'm like, if I would have turned pro that year, I would have pushed it. And to go to the next level. And Todd, probably today my health wouldn't be good. So there's a lot of blessings in disguise with injuries and all that kind of stuff. Don't look at the moment. And there's so many people, oh my gosh, my life's over. I can't bodybuild anymore. You know, all they had to identify themselves that Boston was like a bodybuilder, even though he wasn't really much of a competitive bodybuilder. You got to have more to your life, guys. You got to have other interests and hobbies, and there's nothing wrong with that. But some of these guys they're willing to die, and they are dying.
Well, I'm going to say it like this. I've been doing this. I'm 57 now. I'll be 58 in November, since I was 12 years old. And there was times when I was competing, I would have probably took whatever I had to take to win or whatnot. And I honestly never thought I was going to make it past 40. I didn't believe I was going to make it past 40. I just thought,
when you're 20, you don't care. 40 sounds so old, right? You're like, oh, I'm going to 40 is old. Then you're 40. You're like, oh, then no, 40.
Then all of a sudden you're 50, and the next thing you know, it's like time just goes fast. You know, and I'm still in the gym busting my ass and doing what I can. You can still live this lifestyle. You just have to be somewhat smart about it. You know, eat clean, go to the doctor, get checked out. Don't get crazy on the drugs. I'm not saying don't. I take stuff, but I'm not getting crazy with it. My dosages aren't crazy high because at this point, I'm just happy to like be able to train hard in the gym and recover. You know, and as long as I can get my workouts in, I'm happy. You know, I'm not trying to like break any records anymore because I know that even if I wanted to, it's not going to happen. I've already accomplished everything I could competitively. So there's nothing to do there, but I still want to train. So we're not saying don't bodybuild, but you could bodybuild, but use some common sense. You know, if you're going to take gear, get your blood work checked, get all your things checked, your scans, your calcium scores, all that stuff checked. And then if there's a problem, you need to deal with it. Unless you just don't care. You know, and a lot of people
ignore it. They ignore their markers. They see their blood and they don't care. They keep going. And a lot of coaches, they don't care. They'll take your money, your blood work shit, and they don't care. They don't care about your life. All they care about is money. And unfortunately, that's the way a lot of people are.
And I'm going to say this, even if you're not a bodybuilder, you should get these things checked. I had a kid that I was prepping for competition last year. He's a Marine. And during prep, I made him get his blood work done. In the middle of the prep, he got called for deployment. He's been gone 8 months. He's been off gear for 8 months, and they were working him like a dog. He came back a few weeks ago. He was so skinny, I didn't almost recognize him. He hadn't trained in 8 months, was eating them MRIs, whatever it was. Anyways, he said, you know, he wanted to get started back. I'm like, well, go get your blood work checked. So he gets his blood work checked. His liver enzymes are elevated. And he calls me freaking out. F this bodybuilding shit, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to die for this shit. I'm like, hold on a second. It's not the bodybuilding. You haven't even been on gear. You haven't trained for 8 months. And now your liver enzymes were not high back when you were taking shit and you were training. Why do you think they're high now? Because the army worked you like a fucking dog and starved you to death. So that's probably why your liver enzymes are a little high.
Yeah, nutrition. What we put in our mouth? All these chemicals is causing people cancer. We're not a healthy country. You got other countries, their food's different. It processes different in your system. We use hormones with everything, antibiotics. I mean, and you got a lot of people that scrutinize people that take steroids, and they're binge drinkers. They smoke cigarettes and like, you're steroid, you're horrible. We get, bodybuilders, we work our ass off and we get a lot of shit. And we do it because we love it and we don't give a shit what other people say. So that's all I'm going to say. Guys, thanks for joining. Links are down below. Contest, check out Larry's gym. My supplements will be coming out slowly. My other line's all out. You can reach me for coaching. I'm taking on a little more clients now since we get my supplements are all set to release now. I'm able to take a lot more. Go join Larry's gym, hardcore gym in the area. You can tell them that again if they don't remember.
Undergroundperformancegym.com.
All right, guys, peace out, and we'll see y'all next week.
Have a good one.
Later.
Guys.